So I got the opportunity to watch the movie Sinners, directed and written by Ryan Coogler, and man, was I blown away. Anything you're seeing online about that movie, whether it's written by Variety or just people online trying to be negative, disregard them. Go watch it for yourself. So with the release of the movie came the release of a lot of discourse, which is something that commonly surrounds any piece of media. Specifically when it comes to Hailee Steinfeld's character, Mary, who a lot of people have been having the hots for. And I understand. But their crush on her increased when they found out that she was actually 1/8 black, just like her character in the movie. And this is something that I've known for a little bit from the "most girls are smart and strong and beautiful" days. She mentioned it again during the press tour for the film, and a lot of people have been talking about it. There's been one side claiming her as fully black, saying she's invited to the cookout, basically being beggish about it. And then there's another side that's critiquing it and being like, why is a girl who has 4% by POC ancestry being praised for being black? It extends to a bigger question about what's going on with the representation of black women in media. This movie does a particularly amazing job in showcasing the variety of the black female experience and different types of black women, and I absolutely adored it. We had smart and sexy Annie. We had, Perlene was just something else, okay? And I absolutely loved all of them. But there was another issue that came up on the internet where people automatically assumed for some reason that Wunmi Mosaku's character Annie was not the love interest to Smoke, but his mom. And there are a lot of reasons I'm going to debunk this, because there's so many reasons as to why that doesn't make any sense. And a huge root cause is the fact that we live in a society where one thing is praised more over the other. So why is it that people are quick to claim Hailee Steinfeld as a black sister, while automatically and, inadvertently, whether they want to believe it or not, sidelining and mammifying another character who is a black woman and is fully black and has black features, specifically thicker women and darker skinned women? This video is about to offend some people, so don't get in your feelings. Don't come here commenting under my channel because you will be blocked. But this is for people who are not Shannon Sharp disciples and are not ready to lay it all on the line for some self-hating acceptance. We're going to be talking about Sinners, the one drop rule, fetishization, anything you want to call it. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm Naya. I'm a media analyst. I'm a commentator. I make videos like this and things similar on my TikTok. You can follow me there. But let's jump right into it. So let's talk about Hailee Steinfeld's character, Mary, who is the love interest to Michael B. Jordan's character, Dak. I actually never thought the day would come where I would see her say this.
I heard you loud and clear, but then you stuck your tongue in my coos and fucked me so hard, I figured you changed your mind.
Keep your voice down now.
But damn, did she eat that up. She's a character that stays with us all the way to the end. She gets transformed into a vampire. Her metamorphosis is not only a plot device, but is also used to subvert traditional thoughts and ideas surrounding femininity and morality. The entire movie, Sinners, in of itself, represents the very nature of humankind. You could see what they were doing as sinful, but in reality, they were just being raw. And raw is what life really is. Mary's transformation and the film's setting in the racially charged environment of the 1930s Mississippi invites a deeper meaning of identity, particularly through Hailee Steinfeld's character and the one drop rule. This historical context, which dictated that any person with even a single ancestor of African descent was thereby considered black. Her dual existence as both a human and a vampire can be interpreted as a metaphor for the complexities of racial identity and the social pressures to conform to rigid classifications. From a storytelling aspect, it was amazing. But when you bring this into real life and you bring it to Twitter fingers on the internet, they're going to take this way out of context. The love for Hailee Steinfeld has always been there, but it shot up a notch when people found out that she had this bi POC ancestry.
Church was my family and my family history. And a lot of times it didn't feel like, again, research being the best part of the job, didn't feel like part of the job. It felt like these amazing conversations that, like I'd mentioned, easy to say I wish happened sooner, but I'm so grateful that they're happening now. And even after seeing the movie last night with just some family, it's like the conversations about this movie are so important, but it brought me so much closer to my mom and to my grandfather. And yeah, I mean, this role, my imagination ran wild with thoughts of what his life might have looked like growing up, what his parents' life.
To be clear, she is part Jewish. Her dad is Jewish. Her mother is Christian, but her maternal grandfather was of Filipino and Black descent. So if we're being honest, if her mom is white, Asian, and African American, and her dad is Jewish, is that enough for her to be considered a part of the cookout, as you guys would call it? Notice how the fetishization and proximity to blackness is a sexual currency in this landscape. It's always hot, it's trendy, it's something you can copy, but you don't really have to have the actual defining factors or suffer from the social structures that are against you because of the way you look, because of your lived experience. I guess the question that people always ask is, what does it mean to be Black? And I honestly think that if you're asking that question, firstly, you're not Black, but it's okay if you want to be informed on it. In the context of the movie in the 1930s Mississippi, it's understandable that being Black is a mixture of not just how you're seen, it's lived, it's systemic, it's cultural, and it's generational. You can't critique an experience you've never survived. And I say all that to say this. In the context of the film, she would technically on paper be considered Black, but she's not. And then in the context of real life, yeah, she's got that little bi-POC ancestry, but she herself wouldn't consider herself Black, doesn't consider herself Black, and that's just the way it is. And it's okay to like her or simp for her, but don't be Shamik Moore about it. Don't be a fetishizer. Don't lie and say that you guys are the same complexion. And even if you were the same complexion, like this guy on Twitter was busy trying to lie to himself, y'all do not look the same. If this kind of endorsement or fetishization continues from the Black community, then not only are we going to see only people who look like Zendaya in movies, we're going to soon start seeing the Hailee Steinfelds, who are, white. But like I said, it's a sexual currency. Now let's get into it. Where is the love for Annie? Where is the issue with perception coming from? Wunmi Mosaku delivers a compelling performance as Annie, a hoodoo conjurer whose deep spiritual roots and emotional complexities make her a cornerstone of the film's central narrative. Annie is Smoke's estranged wife. Smoke comes all the way down to get her so that they can start up this joint. And from the moment that you see him kneel at the gravesite for his son, that was enough. That was the telltale sign that I needed to know. He's coming to see his babe, though. Secondly, Wunmi, the woman that you are. All the women on this cast, gorgeous. Just, wow. I love seeing Black women, especially Black witches, represented in media. Correct me if I'm wrong for saying witches. I don't know if that's okay, but you know what I mean. I love seeing spiritual girlies in media, specifically when they're bi-POC. And she's also good at what she does. So back to Smoke and her relationship, they have a history of losing a child together. Annie's visual presentation is meticulously crafted to reflect her spiritual role. Costume designer Ruth E. Carter ensured that every element of Annie's attire, from her mojo bag to her leather accessories, served a purpose, reinforcing her identity as a conjurer. Mosaku notes, "Everything that is on Annie is for Annie. Nothing is superfluous." This attention to detail not only grounds Annie in the film's historical context, but also symbolizes her connection to ancestral knowledge and power. Smoke and Annie's interactions are riddled with tension and intimacy, which is why it shocked me why some people came online to air the fact that they thought that Annie was Smoke's mother. It made a lot of people ask the question that's on everybody's mind: why would you think that? People had mediated and come to the conclusion that it could only be one of two things, or both of them: colorism and the fact that people are not used to seeing full-sized women on TV in the way that Annie's character was portrayed as a main love interest. It brought into question desirability politics, especially when you're looking at how Smoke and Annie's relationship was first perceived when they were on screen, as opposed to Mary and Stack. This is all part of the larger issue of fat phobia and masculinizing Black women because you personally are not used to seeing them in that role. I remember I was scrolling through TikTok and there was a Sinners video. I don't remember what video. And underneath someone was like, for me, it's Perline. Perline, gorgeous. And mind you, there are people replying this guy, telling him that Pearline is chopped. You talking about the next MCU Storm? Keep her name out of your mouth. Her face card could end your generation. Let's be a little bit honest. If Annie was more like Zendaya or Zoe Kravitz, or now your new latest black girl, Hailee Steinfeld, you guys would never, ever question for a second her role. Like childhood best friends, at least. Where did you guys get that narrative? Race science is back, baby. Let's remember that the one drop rule is a historical rule. The one drop rule was codified through court decisions and the enactment of laws. Most notably Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, which upheld racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. Homer Plessy, who was 1/8 black and was 7/8 white, was considered legally black and therefore prohibited from using white-only facilities. This logic reduced racial identity to fractions of ancestry, ignoring lived experience, self-identification, and cultural context. Fast forward to now, and the same reductionist thinking has resurrected, though cloaked in social media discourse instead of law. Hailee, who has Filipino, African American, and European ancestry, is racially ambiguous in a way that lets various groups try to claim her. She becomes a token of diversity when beneficial, but is also seen as a safe or not too black in a white-dominated industry option. This fluid framing makes her both exotic enough to be marketable and palatable enough to avoid discomforting mainstream audiences. And let me just reiterate, no, she is not passing. Some people on TikTok were saying that she's passing. Rashida Jones is passing. From the tragic mulatto trope in literature to the strategic whitewashing of ambiguous celebrities in early days of Hollywood, and even more prevalent now, we've seen how racial ambiguity is often manipulated for social or economic gain. Hailee's case is just a modern iteration of a much older racial balancing act. In Sinners, her casting adds another layer to her role as Mary. It invites audiences to engage with race, power, and otherness. But instead of opening up nuanced conversations, some revert to binary frameworks, essentially either believing that she's on the extreme end of one spectrum or the extreme end of another. Sinners is more than a supernatural thriller. It serves as a reflective surface revealing societal perceptions and biases, particularly concerning identity. The film introduces two central female characters, Mary, portrayed by Hailee Steinfeld, and Annie, played by Wunmi Mosaku. Both characters are integral to the narrative, yet the audience's reception of them highlights long-standing issues of colorism and racial representation. Mary, a white woman passing, as they would say back in Mississippi in 1932, with concealed black ancestry, becomes a focal point for discussions about ambiguity. Steinfeld herself has acknowledged that the role prompted her to explore her multicultural heritage, discovering connections to African American and Filipino roots. In contrast, Annie, a hoodoo priestess, deeply rooted in African traditions, embodies strength, resilience, spiritual depth, and sensuality. Despite Mosaku's performance that was powerful, some viewers have described Annie as hard or unrelatable, reflecting a broader societal issue where dark-skinned black women are often denied the same depth and vulnerability afforded to their peers. Furthermore, the differing receptions of Annie and Mary underscore the ongoing challenges in representing black women in media. While Mary is celebrated for her complexity, Annie's depth is sometimes overlooked, reflecting a societal discomfort with fully embracing the multifaceted nature of the black womanhood experience. With that, we have come to the end of today's video. I hope this was coherent enough for you guys. Drop your comments down below. Be respectful because sometimes I'm not. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I need to rest.